Hello and welcome to today's video. Today I'm reviewing a pen from a company or a maker who is literally very close to me. I mean a couple of suburbs over here in Melbourne. It is Platypus Pens and this is the Model 10. So these are made in Melbourne, 3D printed by Michael Liu, who does all the coding for the design and everything himself. He has a great blog where he goes through in a lot of detail, a lot of the aspects of this pen. And you know, like the building and all that kind of stuff. He talks about how like the design is actually all the angles are like where a circle kind of would sort of intersect and carrying that angle on, which is quite nice. As I said, it is 3D printed using PLA plastic sort of on the end. It's one of those 3D printing where you do like line by line. In fact, I'll just show a quick photo here of his machine in action making one of these pens. As I said, this is the Model 10. There is also a Model 1, which is slightly smaller, which I will show a picture of in comparison of both of those pens next to each other here now. And you can see that it is just a slightly sort of oversized pen. This particular version has the pattern 2 design of the body. It's that sort of pattern there. As you can see, it's very nicely done, very simple, elegant, but looks really interesting and catches the light in beautiful ways. This is under LED light at the moment, so under natural light it actually kind of sparkles. The material here is the color of this. When you order from Platypus Pens, everything is kind of made to order. So you say what size you want, what colors, and the pattern. There's 3 of these kinds of patterns, and he's working on a new one. And a range of colors. So this is the Onyx, which is like a dark gray, and the Nightshade, which is purple, but I think it looks purple here. But sometimes under like LED, it looks a little bit blue. And these materials will all kind of look different depending on the light you see them in. It's very cool. As I said, the pens are all printed to order with the 6 individual parts that go into making the pen all printed and then constructed by Michael, and uses a number 6 steel Yovo nib. I have it here with a medium. And as you can see, the section is the same color as the barrel, and this trim color on the cap is also the same color as the rings here. Of course, this is where it seals down, and you've got the threads at the back of the section. So I'm going to talk through the parts and features of the pen, do a writing sample, dimensions, all that kind of stuff, and then talk about pros and cons. So the top of the pen is this sort of swirled design, which you get from the line printing. And then the cap kind of, as it swells out on that arc shape, you get the nice cap band there. And then the body carries on that same sort of angle to another section on the end there, showing a few marks from like the 3D printer and things like that, but there is some finishing done, of course, by Michael once it is printed. The cap unscrews in about 2 turns. It's about 1 3/4, I think, and they're nice threads. They're parallel threads so that it's pretty secure and you're not going to get like a whole lot of wear and stuff on the threads. If you look inside, you can actually see it's a different kind of plastic on the inside, and that is glued in with epoxy resin into the cap of the pen, and both acts as a liner, of course, but also for strength. But this is a softer plastic so that when you post the pen, and the pen does post very nicely, it's not going to damage the body of the pen. So you get a couple of different colors of bits and pieces on the pen. You get where the section threads in is a different blue again. These are all out of the way. One thing I would like to see eventually is sort of a bit more color coordination with that, because that is quite a stark difference. But that material is a stronger plastic in the way that it's not the same. Like, to get this kind of finish, you have to use a particular kind of plastic, which is fairly sort of brittle on its own, but when it's added with and then lined with the epoxy sort of glue into the barrel and the cap, you end up with a very strong pen. The section is a really good length, and it has a nice kind of taper on it and tiny little flare there on the end, so you know you're not getting towards the end. Simple plastic feed, and as I said, the threads there are not sharp at all, and the step down is not noticeable. The threads to reveal the international standard cartridge converter system, and it comes with a converter. They're a bit tacky, and that's because he does put beeswax on the threads and things, just to sort of give it a bit of lubrication, but also security. But it does take a bit of getting used to. There's like a feeling on those threads that it sort of doesn't. It's a little bit of resistance, if you will. One really interesting feature of this pen is in the weighting of it. A lot of these 3D printed plastic pens are quite light. This one has a bit of weight in it. And you might have seen just before, like a little bit of a demonstration, that it doesn't like to sort of roll away. Like, of course, it's going to roll for a bit, but then it comes to a stop and does this like little... It actually has an inbuilt weighted roll stop in the section. So between the section like liner housing and the external of the section is a weight, so that the pen will always sort of end up somewhat like nib, like flat, but also it just won't roll away. What that actually does is it helps actually to balance the pen in your hand as well, because it puts a little bit more weight down into the section. It's a very neat feature, in my opinion. The pen doesn't have a clip, so if that's something that you're interested in, this isn't going to be the pen for you. But if you use the clip like as a roll stop, then you've got sort of something built in here that will do that for you as well. So that's kind of all that there is to sort of say in terms of the description of the pen. It's nice. It's not like groundbreaking, but it's got some really lovely elements that make it a really nice, unique pen, and things like this pattern and the color choices and the fact that you can choose those yourself makes it a really interesting pen. And in terms of price, these are Australian dollars because he's an Australian maker. You can go online and you email him through his blog website to discuss ordering a pen. The Model 10 here, the larger version, retails for 170 Australian dollars, and the Model 1 for about 150 Australian. And so it's pretty reasonably priced. A lot of pens that are 3D printed or sort of custom like this from other companies internationally, with the exchange rate, you are paying a lot more. So this is a pretty decent price for what is actually really comfortable and fun pen to use. Quick size comparison now with the Lamy Safari. You can see it's a little bit longer, not by much, but just by a few millimeters, but it is noticeable in the hand actually. Uncapped, you can see it's a really good size in comparison to the Lamy Safari. I actually prefer writing with this pen unposted because I think it's actually a really nice size and length, and also the weight is really good. As I said, the pen does post, and it posts very securely. It comes in around the same length as the Lamy Safari because the Lamy Safari doesn't post quite as deep. But it's a really, once again, this is a pen that you can use posted or unposted. My preferred length and in my hand is unposted for the Platypus Pens Model 10. So what are the exact dimensions of the Platypus Model 10? Well, capped, it's 143 millimeters. Uncapped, it's 136. As I said, this is my preferred length. It's a good length pen, and because that section is quite long, there's a lot of space you can hold that on, and also the threads are not sharp, so you never feel them in your hand. If you post the pen, it comes in at about 163, and the posting is in a decent place on your hand, and there's no particularly sort of sharp ridges anywhere that sort of become uncomfortable. The section is around 10 millimeters to around 12 millimeters, so very comfortable width. The pen weighs 22 grams, 17 in the body and 5 in the cap. So it's a good weight pen. And also when you post it, you're not putting a huge percentage of the weight on the back of the pen either. It's just a light 3D printed plastic there. Let's do a writing sample now with the Platypus Pens Model 10. I have some hair in the nib there, sorry. Platypus Pens Model 10. This is a Yovo steel medium nib, and the ink I have in here is Diamine. Montbotto's hat. I hope I've spelt and said that right. Let's do some writing. As you can see, the pen writes smoothly and lays down a nice line. It's a fairly standard medium. It's a fairly, generous in terms of its flow. Not dry at all, typical of a Yovo nib. Fast writing. Not intended to be legible, but you can see it keeps up well. There's no hard starts or skipping. Reverse writing. It's fairly dry, it dries out quickly, very fine. You might be able to get 1 or 2 words out. Not a flex pen. Do not flex this pen. You can see it pushes it out too easily. These are not designed for that at all. So what are the pros and cons of the Platypus Model 10? Well, firstly, I'll start with the cons. Firstly, this is not a pen you can buy retail anywhere. He makes these pens and a number of hours go into the making of each pen, not just the printing, but also the finishing and the gluing and all of those kinds of things. So there is a slight wait time. It's not very long, but there is a slight wait time, and it's not a pen you can sort of try out in hand, but which is common, of course, for most sort of custom or customized pens. The other only issues I have, if I'm sort of nitpicking now, are that the finishing on the ends could just be a little more sort of smooth or finished. It's not those like circular lines. It's kind of more like those that look like injection molding points that I kind of think could just be finished off a little bit. And then the other issue I have is the color of the interior of the pens. I understand it's there for stability and it's there for strength, but I think the color is just a little bit sort of too contrasting with the body of the pen. So something more neutral I think might be a nice change eventually. Now, if we're talking pros for the Model 10, I think the price is good. It is more expensive than buying a number of other plastic pens, but as I said, this is customizable. There is a large range of colors. You can customize the pattern. As I said, there's different sizes, and it is made for you. Like, it is made to your desires. And I love the fact that there are so many variations. I think that's such a pro. I love this nib. I think it writes so well. Yovo are pretty reliable, and I think this is a particularly good one, but I think it's, Yovo are pretty standard, and of course it does mean that you can change the nib out relatively easily if that is what you decide to do. Another thing I love is the size of the pen. In my hand, I think that's a really nice size and weight. That weighting in the nib section there just makes it a really pleasurable and fun writing experience. So the balance is good and all of that kind of stuff. I know it's not a big point on this pen, but one of the things I absolutely love is that weighted roll stop built into the section. It basically, look, if this pen got a big whack, it's going to roll. But, leaving it on your bench, whatever, on your desk, it's not going to go away. He calls it a ballasted roll stop. I think it is such a great little addition to this pen, and on a lightweight plastic pen, makes a huge difference. So as I said, this pen is sort of custom. It's made to order. You order it from Michael Liu through his blog website, which I'll link to down below, but Platypus Pens 3D printed here in Melbourne. I think it's a great pen. I'm really excited to see what he does next. I was able to see a couple of things he's working on and some interesting bits and pieces, and I'm really excited to see sort of where this goes. It's more than just a hobby for him. He loves doing it, but it's more than just a hobby. He's actually got something to say here. He's doing something interesting, and I personally really appreciate that. So this was the Platypus Pens Model 10 3D printed here in Australia, Melbourne, in Australia, and I really enjoy it. So thank you for watching. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can find me on Instagram or Twitter at @the_offstage_me, or you can contact me on any of my videos here, or drop me an email, which is listed down below. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, or if there's a way you'd like to support the channel by sponsoring a review or providing an item for a review, like Michael did very graciously here with this pen, I would love to hear from you. In the meantime, enjoy your pens, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.